All right. As Phyllis mentioned, there are options. The first option for a QLI project is the issue brief. This is a really good way for a school to gain experience with the quality of life innovations program and competition. It's also a great way for a student to begin to explore an issue. They can choose any topic that they are passionate about and start that research journey. They're also able to use this project in the next year and enter that into the quality of life innovations competition as a full proposal. So for instance, if a student started working on pedestrian safety in Brooklyn this year, wrote the 4-page brief, did their background research, really thought about what the next steps would be to conduct field research, to learn more about their issue, to fill gaps in the knowledge and created a plan, they have next year to conduct the research and refine their recommendation and take steps to make it happen to improve the quality of life in their neighborhood. So as Phyllis mentioned, students are doing research. They have a great introduction to primary and secondary research. They learn about field research, but they aren't tasked with completing that portion of the project. That would be in the proposal. They do, with an issue brief, still have the chance to design a solution, to think creatively, to talk with experts, to work with a mentor, and to attend all of the QLI support workshops and webinars. They, at the end of their project in April, they will be able to submit their issue brief, a solid research paper, into the competition, and they're eligible for awards. So last year we awarded the inaugural Gold Ribbon Issue Brief Award to a student for his incredible work on pedestrian safety and the importance of addressing pedestrian fatalities within Brooklyn and the racial disparities that actually occur at the rates of those incidents around the city. Differently from a proposal, issue briefs cannot compete for college scholarships. But as I mentioned, they can be the seed of the QLI proposal, same topic expanded and built upon for another year. So students can build up their writing skills, research skills, confidence. They can work on their own or with a team. And you can also mix the option types within a classroom. So if you have one class of 30 students, 27 can write proposals, 3 can write issue briefs. You were able to have that flexibility. It could be a class of all issue briefs, or you can alternate between the two forms. Sometimes a student might take on a proposal late or join the class later in the year, and the issue brief could be a better fit for them. We do have a sample timeline, benchmarks, sections of the project to complete by which dates of the year, and different steps of the process to take on throughout the school year. We can come back to this slide later if you have questions, and we also have the timeline in the materials that we'll provide to all teachers, a very detailed timeline. Okay, option 2, I'll turn it over to Phyllis to discuss the QLI proposal.
So just a note that that timeline that's given is not mandatory. It's only suggested, you know, so when you see the timeline, it's just to help be a guide for teachers as to where students are and perhaps what the thinking is they should be. And it's to keep the students on track, because it's one of the major challenges of this project, time management. And so this is just a suggestion that you can follow. When it comes to the proposal is very different. Oh, we have a question here about the due date. The due date, I believe, is April 26th for the proposal and the issue briefs. And I'll explain why later. But for the proposal is really is very different in that obviously it takes longer to complete and there's more work involved. We ask that students not only choose an issue, which is similar with the issue brief, but again, it has to be around a narrow a topic, but a narrow issue. And for both the issue brief and proposals, students can work individually or a team of 2 or a team of 3. 3 is the maximum on a team. And we ask that they write a proposal that is no less than 6 pages and no more than 15 pages. And we find that that seems to be a real sweet spot for students, that they're able to really do that well. And that let's say 15-page proposal includes about 7 sections. It starts with the summary page, that's page 1. And then the students talk about the background research that they did on the issue, the field research that they did, and the analysis of their research. What were the results of their research? That has to be explained. They give their recommendation, what their plan is for implementation, and obviously it shouldn't say implementation plan, it's implementation plan and implementation. What did they do to implement? So, you know, it's not just the plan. It is not sufficient to have a proposal with just a plan. It has to be more than that. They have to take action and do something. And then they explain, well, okay, and the reason we ask them to address financial implications is because we want young people to understand nothing is free. It has to come from somewhere. There's some cost. So we have students who think, well, we could start a program in school, and you know, the school will provide a teacher for the program, or you know, they could do a club, and a teacher can be the person, you know, guiding the club, and we'll use a classroom, and we could use supplies that the school has, and all of that might be true, except all 3 of those items have a cost, and somebody is paying for it. Either the school is contributing it, donating it, providing it in kind, all mean the same thing, or the students may have to go and get somebody else to donate the supplies or to donate the space. So that we need to have them understand that it isn't just free because they're doing it at school. It isn't just free to do perhaps a campaign. There are costs involved along the way, and we want them to understand that. And then they draw a conclusion. What was the difficulty with the program? What are the challenges perhaps with the recommendation, or the challenges that they had in even implementing their idea? So the nice thing that with this program is that the material that we provide to schools and to students, like the student manual, actually not only describes what needs to be on a summary page, but also perhaps when it should be done, because the summary page is normally done after the proposal is written. But also when they're doing the background research, what information should they be getting? What type of questions should they answer in doing the background section of the proposal? And so we provide a roadmap for students to carefully follow in order to complete the project. And of course, they have the opportunity to submit their proposal to an online platform that allows their project to compete for awards and for college scholarships. So again, there's a timeline that you'll be provided with. You will be getting it by email, and you will hear about it throughout the year. But again, it's a suggested timeline to help the teachers as well as the students understand that they have to manage their time. You know, we do find that many young people spend a great deal of time doing their background research, and then when it gets time to be doing their field research, they're crunched for time, and then to come up with their solution and implement aspects of their solution, they run out of time. So in order to really finish the project, it's a wonderful experience to learn. They have to manage their time well. And the teacher, of course, always helps students to do that.
Okay, now
And
we
so-
have, oh, go
Okay.
ahead.
No, it's all right. We both would like to introduce Robin Kovac. She's going to give her perspective of doing the program for probably more than 20 years. She's really a star educator, and she's extremely successful in helping her young people. So there must be a secret sauce. Robin?
Hi, everybody. That was a wonderful introduction. I appreciate it. All I can tell you is that I keep learning as the students are learning. And I try to encourage them to investigate issues that they care about, and that they feel like they can actually make a change. I've learned, like, in the first few years I did this, I really didn't know what I was doing. And I've learned. And sometimes I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but I still keep learning. So the students are teachable, I'm teachable. But really, I think one of the most important aspects is the fact that I create a community where we can all work together. So we discuss a lot of issues. We try to solve the world's problems in the beginning. Then everybody gets their own project that they're working on, either by themselves or with one other person or two other people. And then but they still work together. They help each other with their research. They help each other peer editing. It forms like a real community so that, they never feel like they're in this alone. And it's not all on the teacher to be the person who's helping them. They are there for each other, and we brainstorm solutions as well. And one of the most fun things, and I think Juliet could tell you, is like towards the end, we're thinking of like names for their project that are a little catchy. And we always, we all brainstorm and we laugh, and it's really fun. So I really try to make it, we've gone on little trips to meet, some of the former, foundation people. They met with us, and we go on trips, and, it's really, it really forms a community. So, I can tell you that I love it. I can tell you that I do it every year. I wake up early on Saturday mornings. Mine is not a class as much as I would like it to be, but it's an extracurricular activity. And it's like kind of like a college class. We meet for 3 hours on Friday afternoons, and some Saturday mornings for 4 hours. And I will tell you that it goes really quickly. It's not like it goes, it's like, oh my God, 4 hours. How do you fill it up? And it's gone. And it's like, oh my God, where did it go? And the kids are like, oh my God, where did it go? It's really nice. It's a very special program. And the kids do come back and say how much, like, thank God I did it, because in college I knew what I was doing, I'm just really proud to be a part of it. I learned more about new issues and what changes we can make. Like, it really, one of the things I really like about this program is that it's empowerment through research. The students are empowered to make change and advocate for change. And just even doing, your little part, right? You learn that that's more than enough sometimes, and they can really change their little part of the world. So I'm really happy to be a part of it. It's fun to be starting it yet again, a new year. Yes, I love to win. How do I get winning proposals? Because, very competitive, and I tell the kids, winning isn't everything. But it's not just about winning. It's about really making a positive change in your community. And if you could do that, you're a winner. And if you could finish the proposal and do your best job, you're a winner. So, you know.
And it's true, by the way, finishing this project teaches young people how to take on something that may really seem overwhelming at the beginning. And by taking it one step at a time, one section at a time, before they know it, they actually do it. And that is very empowering for the rest of their lives. They know that they can take on something that at first blush really does seem overwhelming. And so many of the students say, I can't believe that I did it, that I finished. They just, so I have some questions, and maybe we could all ask questions of Robin. Robin, do you remember most of the topics of your students?
I don't know most, I remember a lot of them. Yeah.
Because I remember a lot of them, and I still see students. There's this young man who now works at Google, and he took on the project of dog poop in parks. And it was a fabulous proposal. He was one of the finalists, and we're still in touch with each other. I have another question. Do you help your students, or how do you help your students with their proposals in terms of editing? So that's a big question. You know, we want this to be a real world experience, and students can work with experts. They can work with others. They can work with they could even talk to whomever to get ideas as to an issue to take on. So at what point do you say you need to do this? You know, you're not doing the writing, they're doing the writing. And then do you help them at all review their writing? Do you get another teacher to look at their writing? Do you do anything of that nature?
So I teach them how to peer edit. And so they can edit one another's stuff. I do look at, like, I don't look at their full proposals. This is not a class. I have so much grading just in general. I'm sure the teachers on here can relate. I'm overwhelmed with grading. I teach 2 EP classes. I teach an honors law elective. It's all writing, all of it. And so I'm, you know, reading a lot of bad essays a lot of the time. So I'm not, you know, necessarily editing everything, but during our class time, I do different parts of it. I ask them to look at, it's always easier for them to see on someone else's, you know, mistakes, whereas it's more difficult to say. And once they get over, like, oh, I don't want to make them feel bad. Once they get over that, they can, and we talk about what is constructive critique and all that, they do much better. So they really help each other. Juliet is with me, and so she also helps. We also have your, like, the people who volunteer. They were incredibly helpful last year for the students who were.
The mentors.
Oh my God, so incredibly helpful. Made suggestions on changes, on ways to improve that, you know, I wasn't involved with at all. And it was really just, and the kids are so excited to talk to somebody else who has an interest in what they're doing. Another adult who is like a professional. So amazing that just that energy that comes from that.
Okay, anybody else have a question that you'd like to ask Robin? Okay, all right, let's move
That
on.
was easy.
We'll move on with the presentation.
You're not
I'm going
off the hook yet, Robin.
to- Moving forward. Phyllis, would you like to speak to support and
Yes,
resources?
so one of the things that really has been, I think, something that the teachers or the schools like is getting resources, materials, support, technical assistance. So we provide all teachers with a teacher's guide. And I have to tell you that these products are reviewed every single year and they change. And so you should look at them because we made changes this year. So the teacher's guide, there's a student manual, and the student manual is really a roadmap for students. If they follow that student manual, they can finish the proposal. And I wanted it to be that way too, so that they learn as they go how to create a college level document. We had curriculum lesson plans. So there's a curriculum and there are lesson plans with activities. And that curriculum was looked at least, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, by a variety of teachers who provided recommendations for change. We have a guide to do primary research. That's new this year. We had it in the past and we're bringing it back because we think that there are some students who would benefit from it. And we also have a resources directory that was created by a former project manager. And it really, she did a beautiful job on it. She majored in what do you call research. And so she really knew what she was doing. And I think it's very supportive in that students should use it, should be aware of it and use it. And so Juliet will be providing all these materials. This year, we're bringing back something that we did years ago, and that is a student resources fair. So we're going to be collecting topics that students are interested in, and we're going to be getting agencies and experts in that field that students can come and interview and meet with. And we'll also have a workshop or two to provide as well. So we're doing that at the United Federation of Teachers downtown. Every student can attend, teachers can attend as well. We anticipate having a very large crowd. And years ago, it was a very popular event that we did on a Saturday. Juliet, do you remember the day of the week that this resources fair is being offered?
It's on Tuesday, December 6th.
Okay. So you'll be hearing about that. And then during the year, there are a number of workshops and webinars that Juliet will be providing. Do you want to go over a couple of them, Juliet?
Sure, we'll revisit these two. You can see on the calendar in several slides, but to highlight a few events that Ms. Kovat referenced, we have a workshop with researchers. They work for a social impact design firm. They work with the Department of Youth and Community Development in New York City, and they have a session where students can talk to them live over Zoom about their QLI project, what they want to learn more about, what they need to determine in order to create a realistic and very out-of-the-box solution. And these researchers give them feedback and suggestions and inspiration for how to continue with their field research. So they really know what they're talking about. They love speaking to the students. They were really impressed last year and they're happy to come back. And then we also have a workshop where volunteers read the entire proposal later in the year. So they can help find any errors that the student has missed and actually give them new ideas about the recommendation, how they can really take steps to implement their ideas. And again, just provide motivation and that interest at the end of, almost the end of the project, where students might need a little more encouragement. And those dates are on the calendars, and we will, of course, share those out when it's time to sign up.
And we have some marvelous volunteers who come to work with the students. We have someone who used to be a QLI manager, Zoe, who has a PhD, and she actually has a career in doing educational research. And so she does some seminars. I met with a former student of mine from a program that I developed many years ago. And she's now a data scientist, and I'm going to ask her to be involved. And just so that you know, there was a parent last year who does research, and she wants to be involved. And so there are real people who do this kind of work, who have a career in doing research, who or doing data analysis, that would be willing to help us. And along with that support, we also provide in the spring mentors. Now, we're not able to generate hundreds of mentors, but we look for mentors to help students who feel that they would, there is value in working with someone. And Juliet works very hard in getting these mentors who are willing to work with students. Most of it is done virtually. but there are some mentors who are also willing to go to the schools. During the entire year, Juliet's available for ongoing technical support. She's there for teachers as well as for the students. And you'll also be getting the rubrics for judging. So that everything is very transparent. The students know exactly what the judges are looking for. It's not a secret. So what is it that makes a quality proposal or a quality issue brief? All the teachers have that information at their fingertips.
When I first started, it was a big secret, like how they were being judged, the rubrics. We weren't really allowed to see them. I found one, I snuck it and saw it. But like now, times have changed and, the philosophy of teaching has changed. So, but yeah, it's really helpful.
And we go over it with the finalists, for example. We provide, it's not mentioned here, but for those students that rise to the top, we have a 2-Saturday institute, and it's all day. What I mean by all day, it starts around 8:30, it ends about 3:30. And it supports those students in getting them ready for the final round. Next slide.
We're on materials.
All right, it's working. Okay, so we have the teacher's guide. It's information. This teacher's guide, which is about, I would say I'll say 25 to 30 pages, really provides information on that, not only how you can help the students, but on what the students really need to know, because the student manual can't have everything. But the student manual is something that all the students should have, because it's a roadmap that guides the students through the project. And we mentioned the curriculum toolkit with the lesson plans. And this year we made somewhat of a change. In part of the teacher's guide, we actually indicated some of the lesson plans that are related to the topic in the teacher's guide. So we did some editing in that regard. And of course, this guide to primary research, it's enormously valuable. Research is something, college level research is something that students do need to give attention to. And then the resources directory, I suggest that students know about it and definitely use it. Now, in addition, we do mentoring. Juliet?
Yes, so as we heard about some of the mentors who were eager to assist students earlier on in the webinar orientation, we have a variety of fields represented among those volunteers. For example, a team was working on the impacts of birdsong on mental health. They wanted to know what birds people are most likely to hear around New York City. So we had the president of the Brooklyn Bird Club who's able to identify birds just by their song, talk to the student for Zoom, do a brief tutorial on how to recognize birds by their song, and give them a list of the most common species in the area for them to implement a listening station in their school of those birds. We've also had teams interested in sustainability and fashion. So we have an instructor from FIT who is a designer who emphasizes on sustainability, and she's worked with those teams, giving advice on the materials, the structure, the sourcing, really giving firsthand information about what it's like to create a product. So we have mentors from all different fields. They can work with a classroom or with a team. And as Phyllis mentioned, the meetings could be on Zoom, on Google Meets, or in the classroom. We have volunteers who are interested in going to talk to a full class in person during the school day. We have one QLI alumna who finished the program herself, started to research the health field through her QLI project, and then became an RN. So she was able to meet with the whole classroom and give advice based on her expertise working in health. The mentors are available starting around in December. So next month, I'll send out a survey asking for your preference. Would you like an in-person mentor, a virtual mentor? Are there days that would be best? What time is your class meeting? When would you like the mentor to come, etc.? So I will send that out to you to assess the interest and the scheduling, and then we'll match classrooms and teams with mentors to provide a little bit of extra support.
And by the way, you should also look into your students and to see if they have a parent that might be able to help your students, or maybe even help other students at other schools, which is very nice.
Yes, it's a fun project for adults to learn about what students care about, and they're learning from the students as much as students will learn from the mentor. We have a variety of online resources. As Phyllis mentioned, the WISE website is where we will host all of the materials, student manuals, teacher guide, curriculum toolkit, past winning proposals, the top 3 proposals going back at least 7 years, and those rubrics. Also online are the surveys. We have students enter their project in December. It's a Google form, what their topic is, a few sources, and then when they submit their entry form, or before that date of December 20th, they'll also fill out a pre-survey to self-assess various skills related to research, obtaining information, problem solving, working with others, volunteering in their community, their experience, what they've done before QLI. We then, to match the pre-survey, we'll ask students to fill out a post-survey on Google as well when they submit their proposal or issue brief, or before the deadline of April 26th. Also online are the submissions. The project on April 26th is submitted through Reviewer, and we provide a video tutorial about how to do this for the QLI project, and Reviewer as well itself has a whole host of very short, very informative tutorials to help students navigate that process. I'm also available by phone or email to help with any issues on the digital platform. Okay, we can highlight a few events on the calendar before moving on to common challenges and some advice about working through the QLI projects. As Phyllis mentioned, December 6th is the resource fair. We're really excited to see students in person. It was great to return to in-person with institutes and award ceremony in the final round last year. So we're happy to be back together working on our quality of life issues this year. There will be a webinar coming up in December. First, there's a webinar next week, and these are engaging interactive webinars for the students that are also recorded in case a student is not able to sign on at 4 to 5 p.m. on Wednesdays. Further into the year, we have the workshop with the researchers helping to give advice about field research methods and walking through the almost final sections of the paper, webinar with the students on the financial implications, giving examples, being there to answer their questions. Volunteers will be able to sign on for the proposal clinic, reading the full papers, and we help students, again, making sure all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted before they submit their QLI proposal. There is a very useful checklist that we provide for the proposal and issue brief. And then papers are uploaded to Reviewer. They're all judged online, and we notify semifinalists in May, on May 3rd. We will notify the finalists on May 10th. So all semifinalists should hold these 2 dates, May 13th and May 20th. Institute 1 will be at the UFT all day, as Phyllis mentioned. It's a great way for students to prepare for the final round. And Institute 2 will also be at UFT. So all semifinalists should hold May 13th, May 20th, and June 1st. That is the day students present their projects in front of a live distinguished panel of judges, 9 judges, give or take. And then we get to celebrate the winners and students' achievements on the 1st of June at the UFT. All right.
So what are the challenges in doing this project? I mentioned already, time management is critical because you really, if you don't move the project forward and get the students to move it forward, they can't really finish it. So completing the project is a major achievement. And my feeling is if they complete the project, they're winners for sure. Just like Robin said, they're all winners. But what do we find that really creates a project to be set aside immediately? There are 4 rounds to the competition. So why could a proposal be set aside? What are the majority? And I'm talking about 95% of the proposals are set aside for one reason. They do not have 8 different citations. And it's very simple. You could get all 8 in the background section, or you could do 7, secondary sources or even 10 or 15 secondary sources in the background section. David Anderson. And then to do the primary source in the research section. So it's up to the student, but they must have a minimum of 8. That's the only reason that the majority of proposals are set aside. So, and we have people actually counting the number of citations. It's not as if it's, arbitrary. If they don't meet the initial guidelines of the proposal will be set aside. So the second thing that's really a challenge for young people is finding the experts to work with. Where do you go? And I remember a student calling the office and saying, I've been calling the mayor of New York City for the past 4 weeks, and he never returns my call. Well, I said to him, I could understand why. He's the mayor of New York City, and I'm not sure you could really expect the mayor to return your call. Although I have to tell you that Mayor Bloomberg did return a call to a student one year, but sometimes the deputy mayor will return the call or someone else. So you need to take perhaps if the mayor is so important, you need to take a 3-pronged approach or accept the fact that there may be someone else who may be able to answer the question. So you need to be a little creative about how you do it. 1, and 2, you have to be very persistent. And so for the students, they really do need help on how do you go about it. And most of the time, that high school students, their parents make their doctor appointments. The parents decide on very often, some of their social engagements. And so they're not used to reaching out to people that they've never met before. And so that is, I think, a challenge. The field research and data analysis is really important because many high school students have never done field research, and they certainly don't know how to do the data analysis. And the data analysis requires that they present their results with charts, and the charts have to be clearly labeled so that whoever's reading their proposal really understands what the results of their research is and was. And they have to also explain how they did their research. What was it, observational research? Did they do surveys? And explain what it is. But all of that is described in the teacher's guide, but also in the student manual. And plagiarism is sometimes an issue because some students don't realize that even if you're taking something that someone said and you're putting it in your own words, you still need to cite the fact that it came from, Barack Obama, or it came from wherever, but you cannot just copy a section of a book, for example, that was authored by whom without putting it in quotations and putting a citation. So plagiarism sometimes by young people is something they're just not clear about, or they just do it because. So anytime that plagiarism is suspected, and we have suspected it a couple of times, we call the student in and we want to see all of their research. And we want to see, and then we do a run on it. We do check. So please know that it isn't something that we take lightly. And if we find plagiarism, even if they've been given an award, a scholarship, it'll be withdrawn. Implementation is sometimes a challenge too, particularly during COVID, it was a challenge. I was shocked at how well students actually took their recommendations and they did something. They were able to do it during the 2 years of COVID. It was amazing. But implementing it so that you could tell whether or not your idea, your solution was feasible. And so you need to do it at a level that the judges are going to give it a high score. And you have to be careful. You can't assume that by writing a brochure that that's going to address an issue. You know how many brochures you have to print to address an issue? It's really a difficult to say that that would be sufficient in fixing a problem. Financial implications is probably the easiest section that students have to do, but it sounds very complicated until you really look at it. And so we do a workshop or webinar on financial implications. And I suggest that students who don't understand attend, because it really isn't that difficult. And most teachers, if you don't understand it, please do call, because we could clearly explain it on the phone even. So I think these are the highlights of the biggest challenges for young people. And the other thing is, I think some students are frightened by it because it does seem like an overwhelming project. And so they should have fun doing it. They should be doing something that they do care about, and feel good. So I guess as a teacher, you need to help them feel that way, to help them embrace it, and to perhaps have fun with what they're doing, because they might even find a career from the issue that they selected or someone that they've met. Many of the young people come back and tell us, oh, I'm doing this, and it was my topic for my project. So Juliet?
Yes, we're moving on from challenges to implementation.
Tough. So without the students doing anything, the proposal will not move forward to a final round. I have never seen one that did. So it is important, and I guess the degree to which the student is able to implement it in a meaningful way will influence the scoring. Remember, we don't judge. We give it to others to judge. And so, I'm not saying that the humans don't make mistakes, because we know that they do, but we go by a number. And if we have a question, we just have it judged again. And it's never just one person at a round, ever. Most likely it's 3 people from a round that have judged it. And if we see that the scores are either too far apart, then we have it judged again. And so we do it to the point where we feel comfortable that at least the scores look like there's consensus in the score that is arrived at. And the students, these are just some ideas about what students have done. What I suggest is you take a look at the student manual, because there are many ideas in the student manual. But students can have just about done, and they've even suggested or had a solution that was something that was done somewhere else. But they cited, and they must cite, if it's a solution that has been done elsewhere, they have to tell us that. And they have to say, how is their solution different? Is there a different? Is it exactly the same? They just need to describe that. So you could imagine all of this would be perfectly fine and is something that has been done in the past.
Okay, and once students have implemented their out-of-the-box ideas and written up their full proposal or issue brief, they again are due April 26th at 5 p.m. on Reviewer. Please do review the checklist that will provide you to ensure that the proposal and issue briefs make it through the first round, make it through the second round, can go all the way to the finals. All the students who do submit get certificates, participation, college commendation letters, and they've already won by finishing the project. As I mentioned, there is a video tutorial we'll share that we create each year, fresh walking students through the process. And if there are any questions about the digital platform, we are here to help. Making it
I think you can move on with this. I'm a little bit concerned about our time.
Okay, let's move on.
So this is all in the student manual, the teacher's guide.
Yes.
I would move on. They're getting the rubrics.
Okay.
And again, this is just, there's a final round, and the final round determines the top present. Sometimes one time recently, maybe in the past 3 years, we actually had 2 second place winners. And so we had to go with that and give each of them a, because there was an absolute tie and we couldn't break the tie. We have tiebreakers, but this one could not be broken. And so they were given each scholarships. And then, of course, there's an award ceremony that follows the final round. And that's the exciting part, because it's so good to see the students, you know, for it to be announced at the award ceremony who won the scholarships. Juliet?
Yes. Okay. Our alumni is rejoining. She's signing back in through her phone, so we can open up to questions and answers, because that is what we're here to talk to you about today. If there are any questions you have on the program year, on the requirements, please open your mic or type into the chat. And then when our alumni is back on, she's one of those second place tied students from last year who had a really creative project that she will tell you about in just a moment. We can open up to Q&A, and once Ayana's here, we'll give her the floor.
I just have a question about the resource fair. What time is it? And can we get like an email so that we can like fill out trip slips and stuff for the kids?
That is a great question. Yes, we will provide the information that you need for permission slips. We can create a permission slip, and the event is slated to begin at 8:15 a.m. We'll provide some light breakfast. Students will sign in, and then we'll run until 2 p.m.
Okay, good. Great.
Mm-hmm.
The key is really having students having some idea of what they might want to do their project on. Now, if they don't, it's a great place to go shopping, right? Because we'll have a number of experts from a variety of fields. Excuse me.
Okay. Other questions? I'm opening chat now. Okay, max amounts of projects. No, there is not a cap on the max amount of projects that can be submitted from an individual school. There had been a cap before COVID, but in order to make this program available to all students who were involved and were doing this work while they were remote, and after the year or two of returning to in-person, it's open to all students at your school who finish the project. So there is no max this year. Good question.
And we're looking forward to receiving the proposals, because we learned from the students what they care about and what's on their mind.
Hello, another question. So it'll be easier just for me to say it than to type it out. So is there a presentation component of the project? Because I remember, maybe I'm misremembering, but I remember in years past, if they got past a certain round of judging, they were asked to come in to present.
Correct. So what we notifies the schools of what students make it through the second round. They make it through the second round to the third round, and they become semi-finalists. So all semi-finalists are notified to save 2 days, as Juliet mentioned, for the QLI Institute, just in case they become finalists, right? And so only the finalists have to present before a panel of judges that ranges from 5 to 9 judges. I mean, last year we had quite a robust panel. I'll tell you that alone would threaten the heck out of me. And so we do everything possible to help the students really feel comfortable, because the judges are really there to help, be helpful, not to be threatening. It's a very friendly, yet formal, experience for the students, but they always feel good when they leave. And we want them to feel good because they made it to the final round, and that's quite exceptional. I want to also mention, before we close at any point, that there's an appendix that students are allowed to have. So should they have material that they cannot include, they can put it in an appendix. This year, because last year we had an appendix that was more than 100 pages, we put a cap on it. We feel that the students should be selecting the most important things to include in the appendix, and we capped it at 30 pages because it creates a real challenge for the judges to get through the proposals as well as the appendix. Now, if any of that becomes a challenge, you should call us. You should call us. But 100 pages is not necessary. Questions? Juliet?
Okay, great. Ayana is here. So we will let her have the floor for a few moments to tell us about her project, Safety in Numbers, highly relevant to her. She was commuting today, and it is related to safety on public transit. So Ayana, you can
Still an
open your
issue
mic.
today, by the way, still an issue.
Really big. Yes, yes. We will hear from Ayana, and then you also welcome to ask her a few questions.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me. Okay, so my project, Safety in Numbers, I did with 2 others as well, who are in my group. And so while choosing our project, we about
Ayana, can you put the phone a little bit closer so we can hear you better? Okay.
Sorry. One thing that we really realized was that our community made us feel safe in our days. And that was
Ayana, hold on one second. Is everyone able to understand her? Because I have difficulty.
No.
Robin, can you understand her? I can't understand you. Ayana, where are you?
I'm actually on the train right now.
That's what I figured. So it's
Okay, between announcements, I think that if there's a conductor announcement, we won't be able to hear you, but when they're not announcing, we'll have better volume from you.
Hi, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, if you can speak as loud as possible, and you're at your summary.
Yeah. So our project, we decided that one thing that really impacted us was our commute home. We were normally traveling very late at night and alone. And so in researching this, we found that a lot of other people at our school and that we know also felt unsafe in their commutes. And we realized that one thing that we can do to help that is to travel with somebody else. And that seems like a very simple solution to a problem that we've heard about for so many years. So we started researching it. We sent out forums and we interviewed people. We did a lot of research and we found out how different transit systems in different cities like change things to make things safer. And there's always crime and there's always harassment no matter what you do, especially in a large city such as New York. So one thing that we thought could help students, especially girls, feel safer was simply to travel with somebody else. And we noticed through the help of our mentors actually that COVID was a huge problem that led to people feeling more unsafe on trains. And this is partially because they were suddenly thrown into high school or college and had never taken public transportation alone before. So we thought that we could find a way for them to not only meet other people, but also find other people to take the train with or commute home with. So we created a system on an online platform that would allow people to connect with other students who were leaving school at the same time as them, and then with somebody no matter when they left school. And we tested it out with different trials, and we found that people really liked it.
Yeah.
That's a brief overview of what we did. I hope you guys could understand it.
Could you share what some of the challenges were of working on your QLI project and how you and your team overcame them, or highlight?
Yes, I think a few challenges were one, we didn't know how.
Pause while the conductor speaks. Just a minute. You're interrupted by.
Sure, sorry. We found that we didn't know exactly how to get this information, like how to interview people and find out how they felt about harassment. We went through a lot of different ideas. Our teacher was wondering who we could actually interview to do this. We didn't want to make people feel uncomfortable. And so we ended up just going with the Google form that with probing questions about people's interest in taking the train with somebody else. If they felt safer taking the train with someone else, because we felt that even if it doesn't play on direct experience exactly, it would encompass the experiences that people had, and it would encompass their opinions, which we felt was most important to devising the system. Another challenge that we had is once we came up with the idea itself, we had to create a system that was easily accessible to students and that was safe. And that was a huge struggle because how could we ask students to use an online platform to meet up with people and take the train home with random strangers? And so we talked to many mentors about this. We had in-depth discussions with Phyllis, with our teacher, and we realized that the most we could do was provide pictures and safety mechanisms. So that's what we attempted to do. We put in as many safety procedures as we could, and we made sure that it was more sanctioned and that adults were part of it. So that's how we tried to make everything more safe and make parents willing to let their students use our system.
Excellent. And to highlight?
Sure. I think that I genuinely enjoyed this project so much because I realized how passionate I was about it. In presenting to our mentors, it was the first time that we fully organized our thoughts about our project, and we realized that we knew so much about it just through research and understanding. And after every time we presented, I never actually memorized my part of the presentation because I knew it so well that I knew I could deliver any part of it and I could answer any question because it felt like I created it, because I did create it. And when we presented it to all of the judges, it felt like it was something that we had the chance to do, to share our work rather than being judged on how good it was. It was us sharing something that we created and that we were very passionate about, that we knew could help a lot of people.
Excellent. Thank you
I
so
was
much.
very impressed, I want you to know I was very impressed with your online system where students actually would go on and indicate what time they went home, how they traveled, where they were going to. That created the groups of young people to meet and to travel together going home. That was very impressive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Is there anything else I can answer or help you out with?
Any other questions?
Great job, Ayana.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Ayana.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Have a safe commute.
I'd like to just share one thing because I know we're really running late. And that is that a student developed a product just about 2 years ago to address mental well-being. And it was so well done that they won. I think they won first prize. Did they not, Juliet?
That the creative writing prompt team?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
they did. They did.
So they created prompts that teachers could use that would only take about, let's say, 5 minutes of a classroom period. And it helped the students feel better. So we packaged these prompts and we're going to be issuing them to all of the schools that are participating this year. So it will probably be released in December or February, January, probably more like January. We're going to try and get it out as soon as we can. But it's an amazing product. And it's hard for me to believe that these young ladies generated such a beautiful, well thought out instructional document. So I think you'll like it.
Absolutely.
Anything that we did not address that you'd like to hear about? Other than you're really heroes because you really do help prepare these students for college. There's not a student that doesn't feel that they write better, they know how to do research more, they understand what it is to organize a project and to present it. They're just better. And some colleges, by the way, have given students credit for the college that they're attending because of their QLI project. Over the years, I've heard such wonderful things about the project. And if I had time, I could spend hours on projects that students have done since 1994 or 5, whatever year that was when it started. It's amazing. So thank you very much for considering and doing this project this year.
I'll echo Phyllis's thanks. Thank you for working on QLI with your students. Thank you for your time this afternoon. We are so excited to see what issues that your students choose and how we can support them throughout the year. I will send the slides from today's presentation and all QLI materials to you. If you have any questions at any time, email or call, and we are very happy to help you. Everyone have a wonderful evening and take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Robin.
No, thank you.
What?
Good to see you, Kathy.
No, I was in the